Hey, we don't talk about Simon, alright? Alright. Grace, the second most Christian game. Next to Doom, of course. What a lot of people, including me, would call Doors but Ultra Kill is really just fly over all of the doors simulator. Until it's not. Wow, great script right there, Corey. There are boss fight sections called domains, and I love them so much. No, not that kind. Thankfully, the game has a game mode where you can play domains, and only domains. Since all of the entities in the main game mode represent some kind of sin, domains are that, but amplified. Nede has you watering flowers of truth while also fighting the reverse Garden of Eden, with things like flower heads and stem attacking you, and in the final phases, the garden itself. On max severity, you're also given Snap, who you have to prevent from exploding itself. All these actions lead to protecting the truth. In Clot, you're fighting for your life on a level that's far more than the other domains, because all of the threats represent the will to end your own life. Tragedy, who is the manifestation of your destructive thoughts, hunts you down, shocks the water, drops nukes on you, and you can't even fight back. Your only method of survival is keeping your sanity intact. On max severity, Craven is added, because you just haven't suffered enough. And now you have to track Craven's aggro, wherever Tragedy is, your sanity, and avoid the nukes too. All of which out of self-preservation for yourself. In Sinrow, you're fighting peer pressure, running from an angry mob while having to conform to the orders of command, which is the giant litany in the background. While opening gates and dealing with litany and those goddamn space lasers— Sorry. Let me keep my opinions to myself until I can actually get to the part where I can complain. Taking shortcuts, as in jumping over barriers, spawns Rue as a form of anti-cheat, who doesn't really fit the theme of the domain. And max severity spawns Fool, having you keep an eye on someone you shouldn't keep an eye on, while everything is just more difficult. All in the effort to escape peer pressure. All of these fit the theme of Grace perfectly, that being the attempt to escape from sin. Nede perfectly hypes you up and is the perfect domain to give to new players to ease them in. Clot is an amazing difficulty spike and has more lore than the other domains. Check out the video on the official soundtrack. I tear up every time I beat Clot because of it. Sinrow sucks. And I'm gonna go over why. After I talk about my experience with the other two domains first. As I mentioned earlier, Nede is the perfect starter domain. I mean, the first entity anyone will ever encounter in Grace is Carnation, and Nede is Carnation's domain. After watering enough flowers, the fight starts. I never knew how to deal with flower heads until I realized that I really liked Sisei in the normal game, and the watering can happened to be a good light. It's the easiest domain by far, and I like how the intensity of something this easy can only go up. Phase 3 starts spawning stem, forcing you to always keep running, otherwise it's instant death. Phase 4 starts bombing you. Phase 5 stops the bombs, but spawns far more flower heads. 6 brings the bombs back. 7 makes the bombs faster. 8 removes everything but the bombs, and the giant vines from the ground start trying to destroy you. 9 has every hazard at once, until you fell the domain. There's really not a lot to talk about Nede, but it is my favorite domain to play, and the reason I started playing the domains only game mode. It's also one of the reasons I started making music. My only real complaint about Nede is that it's got a really annoying bug where you can get stuck in the vines every so often, and you can't escape. So you just have to let something kill you and restart. When everything comes together at the end, it is such a rush. Or should I say that it's such a carnation? Who knows? Clot is the hardest domain, depending on the game mode. In normal Grace, it's almost the hardest, but just shy of Sinrow. In the domains only game mode, it's Clot. Why though? Because of goobers. These little idiots give you boosts to make your life just a tiny bit easier. But I only ever care about Michael and Pio. Being essentially a super fast double jump and increased air slide speed. This makes turning to get the crystals in Clot so much easier. Why is it still insanely difficult? Because it's nearly impossible to tell where Tragedy is. The shocks and nukes just give you something extra to think about. They're almost never a problem. But I love the unease of not knowing where Tragedy is, and when Tragedy just barely grazes me and sends me flying through the air, it's a similar kind of rush to beating Nede. The song fits unbelievably well, and I sing along to it whilst playing. The sheer terror of finally winning and watching as Tragedy starts coming straight for you whilst you can't do anything It's terrifying, and noticing the nuke drop on Tragedy is both cinematic and scary at the same time for someone who's only just got their first Clot win. In both Nede and Clot, deaths feel like my fault. Maybe I spent too long inside of a danger area, or let myself get hit by a flowerhead in Nede. Maybe I wasn't paying attention to Tragedy, or I didn't get out of the water when it shocks, or even made a stupid play and get owned by a nuke in Clot. Then there's Sinrow. There's two parts to talking about Sinrow. Sinrow with goobers, and Sinrow without them. For the sake of I felt like it, we're gonna talk about Sinrow without them first. It's fucking impossible! Call it a skill issue, but I'm not good enough at dodging in Sinrow to beat it. I've done it without goobers twice, and I've felled Sinrow almost 20 times with them. But what's wrong with it? Falling into the water and losing one of your 5 lives? The crowd being too fast? Playing Simon Says with command? Going out of your way to get the glowing things that open the gates? Litany even? No! It's those fucking space lasers! The crowd is just a timer. The gates and orbs are just the goal. The water is an obstacle. Simon Says is actually fun and it's my favorite part of the whole domain. Litany showing up in Litany domain just makes sense. I like it a lot. Those space lasers are just the worst. In Sinrow, you have 5 lives. Falling into the crowd and Litany, the only 2 insta-kills. Losing all 5 of your lives rips off your neck, where the crowd loses those lives instantly, and Litany is just normal Litany. Falling into the water, losing Simon Says, and the space lasers all take 1 life from you. The life counter is more than just a life counter though, because it's also something that's blocking your vision. Taking 1 or 2 isn't bad, but when you're down to your last life, you turn into a blind person. It's impossible to see. And since you can't see, noticing the space laser indicators becomes almost impossible. That shouldn't be a problem, right? No! Why? The space lasers! At Phase 2, more space lasers start firing. Now, the amount of lasers firing isn't terrible, it's manageable in Phase 2. Phase 3 starts spawning Litany, so nothing special. Phase 4, the amount of space lasers that fire is doubled! It's fucking miserable! And you have to survive 14 more gates! To get to Phase 4, you've opened 11, so you have to survive doubled space lasers for over double the amount of time you've already spent in the domain! But it couldn't get any worse. Right? Phase 5. More space lasers! At the very least, you don't have to worry about the gates in Phase 5. But those lasers are miserable! Your only hope of avoiding them is to dart off of the very, very few walls in the final section. But that's without goobers. Surely the goobers can fix the issue of space lasers somehow. Right? There's only one goober you need for Sinrow. And his name is Michael. Michael makes Sinrow so trivial, because then you're just playing normal Grace with Litany enabled. The crowd means nothing, because you're so far ahead. Gates mean nothing, because you can use your launch to get to the key, and then use it again to get to the gate. Litany means nothing, because you'll be sliding the entire time. Simon Says means almost nothing, because you can just time your launch right and ignore don't jump sometimes. The water means nothing, because you can just use your launch out of it. Space lasers, the entire reason I've made this video, mean nothing, because you go so fast, they do not ever get the chance to hit you. You're so far gone. Sinrow becomes utterly trivial with Michael, to a level that none of the other domains have. It goes from the hardest domain in the entire game to easier than Nede. There's a reason it's what people use to grind for things like keys, crowns, super keys, visions, paint cans, whatever collectible it is. You grind Sinrow for them. And because it's so easy, it feels like there's no point in doing the other domains. But there'd be no point to this video if all I did was complain. There has to be a way to fix it, right? Well, the only solutions I have are simple ones. I don't think a lot, so my only 2 ideas are putting Michael on a 5-second cooldown so you can't spam it over and over, and toning down the space lasers! I'm not very good at thinking of solutions, so I'd love to hear your thoughts. It doesn't matter either way, because the game is never seeing an update again. I'm currently following 2 Roblox Doors likes, being Turbulence, a Pressure fan game which I helped in becoming what it is today, and Disgrace, being a Grace remake with far more than what Grace had. I'm leaving both Discord links in the description, with my personal Discord there too, and I'd love to see all your support for all 3 of these places. Anyway, thanks for watching, and bye bye!